Welcome back, Manitoba Power. I'm D, no T today because he is probably resting and getting caught up on work after hosting Keystone on the weekend. Today's episode is going to be a short one, just a brief kind of recap on how the event went. We'll go into greater detail in our next episode, episode 20, where we'll cover Keystone recap in detail. Get an idea of some of his predictions because he was the meet director. We didn't want to cover his predictions before the event. Obviously didn't want to be biased, anything like that. So we did have my predictions, and I had kind of predicted a certain bunch of individuals who were placed in the top three, and things just kind of shook out just a little different than we thought they would. For those who don't know, Keystone is an invitation-only event. In order to be invited to Keystone, you need to do provincials, and you need to place within the top 10 GL scores from provincials. Oftentimes, not everybody that places in the top 10 wants to compete in Keystone. Many international athletes don't have the ability to compete in provincials because it doesn't fall within their training blocks. For those that do, maybe it's not ideal for them to do Keystone. People will get hurt. People will not be able to have time off. There's a billion reasons why you might want to skip Keystone. So we have to go to the reserve list, and people on the reserve list get injured, and then we have to go to further reserves. So many of the athletes that competed this past weekend weren't the initial invites to Keystone and had much shorter times to prepare. But nonetheless, they put on a great show. Obviously, first that comes to mind would be Tom Hall from Iron Image. I believe he was given 2 weeks to prepare. His numbers were significantly lower than what we'd be used to seeing from him if he had a full prep, but he still brought it. He went 9 for 9, obviously, and had a blast. Good tunes, good dance moves, and hyped the crowd up. And part of this event is just the showmanship and the production value and the overall experience for the athletes versus just going out and enjoying some powerlifting. So my initial thoughts, it was a great event. Could have used more in attendance. I don't know if it's a marketing challenge or just it being a new sport, but it did seem to be a little bit smaller than last year in terms of the spectators. I don't know revenue-wise how they did, whether or not they hit their goals, but I do know that all the athletes get a prize, a paid prize, a cash prize, and they don't have to pay an entry fee. So that's nice. In terms of the overall experience, like the venue is nice, parking's a little harder to find, and it's in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, which depending on kind of who you are, it's a different experience, but yeah, it was a great time. Started off really well with squats, and got to see a lot of people improve over provincials. So the things that I was looking for was people that were opening above their provincials third attempts or their provincials best, and we didn't see that too often. One that really caught my eye right off the bat was Christine. She opened at 130 kilos on her squat. Previously, her provincials squat was 122.5. So when you're coming in and you're opening up much higher, it's great to see. And she ended up with a, I believe, let me take a look here, 145 squat. So she increased her squat by 22.5 kilos, which was amazing to see, which definitely helped her with her points. Other things I looked at, Andrew tied his provincials. He opened with his provincial squat, 315 kilos, huge squat. Same with the returning champion, Dustin. A 250 kilo squat opener is massive. And then I looked at kind of the guys I predicted and who was going to win. We were thinking Riley was looking good, Ladanian were looking good, and Riley came in and he opened 2.5 kilos above his provincial squat. So that was another, great opener. Love to see that. I think that was it for people that opened above Kind of the one that going into it that I thought had a really good shot was Selmar, especially because he was cutting weight. And for him to open at a lighter weight class, you know, he was 74 point something. So he was aiming for that 74 class. He just missed it. Doesn't matter because with GL scores, the lighter you are, the better. And that point, whatever that he missed, doesn't really matter. It might matter for qualifications if he was trying to qualify for something. But he opened with a 225 squat, and that matched his provincials total, or provincials squat. He then went to fail his next 2 squat attempts, but still strong 22.5 or 225 kilo squat. Opener for a 74 kilo, that's huge, right? Other things I was looking at, Dominic came out and, you know, 215 for a squat opener. I thought that was an 8 or a 9 RPE. Like, it looked challenging, but he went on with a 12.5 kilo increase, smoked it, and then missed his third for 235. But very cool to see kind of what people were picking for openers. A lot of surprises on my end. A lot of interesting calls on depth. Some people, you know, as a referee, I try to watch those things and think how I would score it. Again, the vantage point and where I'm viewing is a little different, so I might not see what the refs see, but I was predicting things like David calling on depth on certain squats, and then I would be like, okay, watch, now he's not going to call depth, but the other 2 will call depth. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. And then that same athlete came out and I was like, okay, watch, now David is going to call on depth, but the other 2 are not. And it was just like very interesting to see that I could predict those things, watching the refs and kind of what they tend to do, and what they see versus what the crowd sees. Very cool. Other cool things here, we have the returning champ, Janelle. She came in, had a nice 115 easy opener, but then you have them trying to come in and beat the provincial previous lifts on their seconds in order to gain those increases in GL. And she went for 125. That was 2.5 kilos over her provincials and missed it twice, right? And we saw that quite a few times where they'd come in, they'd open lighter, then they'd go for like 2.5 kilos over and they would miss it, and then they'd have to lift it again. So we had a lot of like individuals that missed. We had Selmar who missed his second and third. We had Janelle who missed her second and third. We had Candace who missed her second, but then went to hit it on her third. And then we had a whole bunch of thirds that were missed, right? So interesting to see Jimin Ryu. His squat was scary, man. His second, 215, dropped into the hole deep, and it looked like a little double bounce, and he pulled his quads. I don't know exactly what injury he had, but he was out, right? He was limping out, and those spotters saved his life because he landed under the bar, like under the plates, and they just like held it above him. So that was terrifying. And actually, like, as hard as it is to stay with the bar, like, whew, man, that was scary. So he ended up missing his second there. Or he missed his first, actually. I don't know which one he got injured on, his first or his second, I can't remember. I think it was on his second that he went up, missed it, and then I don't know if he did his third, I can't remember. It might have even been he got injured on his third, now that I'm remembering, doesn't matter. But yeah, poor guy. It was brutal to see. Did come out, open his bench 140, skipped his 2 other benches, and then just skipped his deadlift. So to come in and not get a total is unfortunate because everyone gets paid, and I don't know how they do the payments like for the bottom places, but like any total is probably better than no total when it comes to getting a cash prize. So I'll have to ask Tommy about that, how they decide, because there was 3 individuals who didn't end up with a total. We watched Christine, who I thought was gonna win or place top 2, getting hurt, I'm assuming on bench, and then not wanting to pull deadlifts, so she had no total. And we saw the same thing from Taylor Smith, who was ranked number 1 coming in. I think she hurt her shoulder on bench, and then elected, not neglected, to not pull deadlifts. And again, somebody who I thought was in a good position to place well, ended up with no total. And I don't know if I would have maybe just gone out and pulled the bar or like pulled like 60 or something. Very easy just to get a total, because that would have like chipped my prize money a little higher than the two people that didn't have a total. Who knows? But there's some strategy and some questions there for Tommy we can talk about next time. But yeah, squats were amazing to see. I hate squats. You guys know that. My squats are terrible. You know, when you got kids in here opening higher than my highest ever squat, it's crazy to see, right? We had Andrew snag the heaviest MPA squat of all time, 335 kilos. He was looking to break some records here, I believe, in terms of the total record, maybe some other records. I'd have to look it up for the next podcast. But and then he went for 340 and he missed it, which is unfortunate. But man, huge squats, huge numbers. You know who also impressed me was Dustin. Like, this kid is strong, nice 260 kilo second attempt. Went for 270 on his third and missed it. Ladanian, always fun to watch. A 257 third attempt for a 5 kilo increase. Riley Bresky, man, like, you impress me every time you go out there. A 12.5 kilo increase on his provincial squat. Who else did I think was crazy? Bailey, we've been watching her all through the last few episodes because she's the equipped lifter that we've highlighted a few times. 10 kilo increase. And who else do we have that really brought it? Jasmine, 12.5 kilo increase. That was amazing to see. And Jennifer, who ended up taking the first place, I believe. Just tied her last year's squat, so interesting to see nonetheless. Going into bench, I was already looking at Selmar's. I got a note here that says like male leader going into bench, Selmar question mark, female leader Christine question mark. And we had some interesting benches happen. We had where's that bench? Yeah, the first flight, not too much, but we had Selmar grind quite a bit on his third. Like, dude, sometimes you just gotta let it go, because man, that probably took a lot out of him after that weight cut. 140 for like a long grind. Dominic came out, smoked 125, missed his next two. With bench, there's a lot of red on this simple meet. Dustin made his first, missed his second two. Dominic made his first, missed his second two. Selmar missed his second two. Andrew came out 205, massive bench, went for 215, missed that twice. We had Christine come out for 80, missed her next two. And we had Taylor again come out for 57, missed her next two. So lots of red on the board for bench. Going into flight B bench, I had a couple questions for myself, thinking maybe Neil and Riley pulling up into the lead or having a chance at like second and third. And then Christine and Bailey, I was kind of looking at there, kind of thinking of where we are. But bench was exciting for sure. Big numbers. The thing that impressed me the most again was Riley's increase of 25 kilos on his bench, going from 132 at provincials to 157.5. That's a huge bench. Ladanian as well, 12.5 more kilos on the bench. That was massive. And then Dustin Everett, returning champion, another 15 kilos on his bench. So big numbers, big additions. But again, entertaining things. We saw Tom coming out to some great tunes. Again, his numbers nowhere near where they were at provincials, but with 2 weeks to prepare, he was just looking to have a good time, and it was definitely fun to watch. The other one that was fun to watch was Ryan here in Flight A. Managed to beat his provincials with a 175 bench. Like, that is a massive bench. Like, these are some big dudes, strong dudes here. So big numbers for bench. But yeah, great to see. So going in to deadlifts, this is where most of the athletes had a negative score. There was a couple athletes that definitely had positive scores going into deadlifts, but most had a negative score until they had a deadlift on the board, or at least a second attempt deadlift that surpassed their provincials one. I've got a note here again. I had Selmar or Riley circled. From where I was sitting, it was not possible to see the score table that showed the scores of the Keystone coefficients and the Keystone points. So at no time did I know where anybody was actually positioned. So I was kind of guessing based on, I was making a lot of notes and trying to like do the math on the fly. I had Simple Meet open on my phone. I had the score sheet, and then I had all these notes that I was trying to figure out kind of who placed where. So Christine misses first deadlift. That was interesting to see. I didn't know what was going on there. And then I was like, crazy. So does this mean Jasmine's in the lead in the first flight? So anyways, we had Christine, Taylor, and Jim and Rue all in flight A, all not do their deadlifts. So it was very quick, right? It was a very fast flight, but some great numbers again to see. Selmar pulling 250 was crazy. Ryan's 265, apparently that was a PR for him, I think, and that was a great pull. I love to see that. Dom's 255 was nice. Renee, I think, hit a PR with 160. And yeah, the other girls did well as well. Going into flight B deadlifts, so the final flight of the final lift, all I have here is Jen question mark. So I think I had her number one based on my calculations going into deadlifts. And she did amazing with a 185 kilo deadlift for the win. And if I'm not mistaken, that sounds like a 10 kg PR. Again, Tommy will have a lot more of the stats next time. I don't have that stuff in front of me, what they've previously done. But massive lift. Like, that's a huge deadlift. So congratulations there. But I believe that was the pull for the win. So congratulations. Other things here, Aracel's list, crazy. You know, Bailey, crazy. We had Kayla come out and pull 180, amazing, and then miss 190. I don't know if she was actually going to pull it or try to pull it, but it didn't look like she actually tried to pull it, but great job nonetheless. Neil, this kid, I think in the last episode I said, do I even know who this guy is? I don't, or I didn't, but I do now, because this kid is strong. 83 kilos, 295 kilo deadlift attempt. Massive, okay? Then we have Riley Bresky come out. He hit a 287.5 deadlift. Dustin comes out and attempts 310. Massive deadlifts, boys. Ladanian 323.5 for a record pull. That was solid to see. Like, I love to see that. And then we had Andrew come out and attempt 350 twice. And I think, if I believe both times, it was on grip. Just couldn't hold it there. So I don't want to give away too much detail because this is a very short episode, just to kind of keep our schedule rolling, keep you guys engaged, and kind of give you first thoughts. Great event, great effort from the athletes, lots of class, lots of sportsmanship, lots of showmanship. We had Selmar come out on top, number one. And then we had Jen come out on top for the ladies. So congratulations to both of you. We'll go deeper into the placings next time, the cash prizes, and how you can try to qualify for Keystone next year. Provincials will be in 2 weeks. That is where it goes down. Top 10 GLs from this year's provincials get an invite, or sorry, top 9 get an invite, and I believe returning champs get that 10th spot. But as always, follow us on social media, send us some messages, let us know your thoughts on how Keystone went. Send us a message because we can talk about it in the next episode. So again, episode 19, Manitoba Power. I'm D. No T today. We'll see you in the next episode. It's caught in the crossfire. It's caught in the